Welcome to part 3 of the LS swap on my Land Cruiser. I've made some progress, not quite as much as I wanted, but I think that's always the case. A couple of big things I've done. I've got the radiator fan installed in the factory fan shroud, and I'll show you that. I've gotten the wire harness all trimmed out. I got all the unnecessary stuff out of that. There was a lot of unnecessary stuff. Turns out I think I'm going to have to keep the factory ECU in the truck for everything to work, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping to sell it and kind of recoup some of the cost, but whatever. I still have a lot to go, but that list is actually shrinking for the first time. I'm not discovering more things that need to be done. Here's some of the things I've done so far. So I have here a 93 to 96 Lincoln Mark 8 radiator cooling fan. I have mounted it inside the factory fan shroud. I felt like this was the easiest route. It was a pretty simple thing. I just trimmed the factory shroud from the Mark 8 down to where it was just a sphere, and I cut some spacers out of some metal stock and ran some 6x1.0 bolts that I drilled holes through, and it's mounted. There is a gap all the way around, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. The factory radiator fan had about this much gap in the shroud, so if there is an issue, I'll look for something to fill this gap, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's talk about some AC. So this truck has to have air conditioning. I don't understand taking AC out of anything that's not a designated race car, and this surely isn't one of those. The factory AC line, this one here, it starts here and it makes this kind of bend, gets very close right here to the passenger side valve cover. As a matter of fact, I had to bend and about kink this line just to get the engine in. I didn't really like the way it fit. So this part of this line is pretty much useless, but one of the things I discovered is if you split this line, now this goes to the compressor, but when you split this line here and get the bolt out of it, this comes apart, and then take that. And this fitting here perfectly fits in the evaporator. It's perfect. It's like you just bypass that little loop. So the O-ring diameter is the same, the flange is the same. You can put the bolt back in it. Now it puts this upside down, and unfortunately the Toyota engineers decided that the best place for the low side and high side fittings are on the flange, on the actual fittings that fit on the compressor. I'm not too happy about that because I'm going to have to cut these ends off, which means that I won't have valves. I'm going to have to buy some fittings to fit the sand-in compressor from the GM and adapt the Toyota line to the GM line. It's not going to be too big of a deal. The harder part's going to be figuring out which fittings I need, but getting rid of this elbow is going to save me quite a bit, and then it also retains that factory look, which, not that that really matters, but I like it. Here's the factory truck AC compressor. They're pretty much the same compressor from 99 all the way up to 13 or 14. The factory lines do not point in the right direction. This one will run into the wheel well, and I could possibly make contact with the right front tire under a left turn compressed suspension situation, so that's not really any good. And this is the other side line, and this is from an SUV with rear air, so this doesn't really work in this situation. So I'm going to end up having to buy the fittings that bolt onto this compressor. It's a Sandin 1020. They make fittings. You can get them almost anywhere on the internet. They just bolt right on. They have their O-ring fittings. They have threaded ends on the other side. I'm going to have to put the low and high side fittings on those fittings and then adapt them to the Toyota lines. Shouldn't be too hard. The hardest part is going to be figuring out what I need. So if you're like me and you want all of your factory gauges to work, you're going to need the sending units out of the Toyota motor. Here is the water temp sender, which I've installed in the passenger side LS cylinder head. Unfortunately, Toyota engineers thought that this sending unit needed to be 16mm thread diameter, which is massive compared to the 12 that the aluminum LS head has. So I had to drill it out and tap it, which isn't that big of a deal, except I didn't figure this out until the engine was installed. That was quite difficult. So if you are going to want this sending unit installed, definitely drill this out before the engine goes in. Otherwise, it's just not worth the trouble. All right, so here is the harness. This is the engine harness. I have stripped all of the 1FZ specific stuff out of it. The most important things you need to know This is called the IL2. This is a small dash connector. This is the IL1. This is a large dash connector. This runs to like all your gauges, your OBD2 port. This has your power, your starter wire in it. I depinned the 3 ECU connectors right here. I took probably about 20 or 30 wires out of them for like EGR, vacuum switching valve stuff, all the ignition stuff, all the fuel injectors. All that stuff is unnecessary. You're left with this. I haven't wrapped this up because I'm going to have to modify the wire lengths, I'm sure. But this has all your body connectors. There's nothing loose. The only thing that's really specific here is this connector. It's the single wire connector for the water temp gauge. That has nothing to do with the engine control unit. This runs directly to the gauge. That's it. And here is all the nonsense crap that you don't need. Ugh. It's a few miles of it. So I haven't gotten as much done as I wanted, but I still have made progress, and some's better than none in this situation. I have 2 goals for the next video. Number 1, to get the engine to crank by turning the key, and number 2, to not let any smoke out in the process. Don't forget to subscribe. There'll be another video coming up soon.